On page 17 of the guidelines, they've said the application of available research is in fact sufficient to arrive at firm conclusions about safety, performance and retained advantages. You're saying that's a judgment call
by them. That is not strong science. I don't think that is not peer review. That would not get published in any peer-reviewed journal.
Could you please point me to the science in the guidelines that relates to your point on strength, stamina and physique?
The guidelines were never intended to be a scientific document and were never intended to be a medical document. They are directed at sport administrators to advise sport administrators how they could, if they so choose to, operationalise the Act.
Are you effectively conceding that your guideline, which states that participation in sport should be based on a person's affirmed gender identity rather than their sex, does not contain any science specifically analysing the safety and fairness of this proposition on women's sport?
No, I don't concede that at all.
But you've just said that the role of the guidelines was for it to be effectively a legal interpretive document rather than a scientific report.
The purpose of the guideline in the first instance is to advise organisations how they can act lawfully against the Act, but it makes it very clear that there's definitely science around the role of testosterone.
I don't think the guidelines do say that. I think the guidelines say there is limited research examining the impact of testosterone on the sporting performance of trans women.
And that is an accurate statement.
And yet World Rugby has come up with scientific research, 49 reports, I think, that look at that impact.
I don't think they have. They have looked at a range of scientific studies, and none of which that have involved female transgender athletes, and they've made suppositions from that, and they've decided that there's enough information in there to make them cautious.
Are you comfortable with the position then that where World Rugby has identified that there is a 20 to 30% increase in injury risk to women, and your guidelines don't address that research?
No, I'm not comfortable with that at all. I'm not comfortable with the fact that research by World Rugby, by their own admission, if you look in their papers, is completely unreferenced to any scientific document. That 20 to 30% increased injury rate was taken on the basis of a calculation and predictive modelling using the average weight of international female rugby players, the average weight of male international rugby players, and doing some predictive modelling about what the injury risk might be. Now, I'm not aware of anywhere in the sports medicine literature, anywhere in the world, where such modelling has been used and shown to accurately predict anything. I think they've drawn a very long bow there, and by their own admission, they've drawn a very long bow in making that prediction of 20 to 30% increased injury rate. They may be correct, but there is nothing in world literature to suggest that they are.